Hey guys, so in this video I'm going to be showing you how to set up Amazon Workspaces, which is a virtual desktop solution. I know there's some other ones out there like Citrix, which is a big one, and there's a couple other competitors, but this is Amazon's version of it. It came a long way. I think it's an awesome solution. I've used it. I've used Citrix before too. I really like Amazon, especially from the management standpoint. Images and whatnot are really easy. I highly recommend it. I highly recommend checking it out. You can basically check it out for virtually nothing in cost. And it's a great, you can get it deployed, especially right now with the pandemic going on and working from home. You can get this up and running in like no time and get your users on it. All they need is just to download the Amazon Workspaces app, and you could easily have them log in from any machine, including iPads if you wanted to. And it's a great solution, and I'll show you guys how to set this up. So I'm logged into my console now. One thing I already set up, and I've done it in other videos, is just setting up the networking side, the VPC side. I kind of set up a subnet, internet gateway, set up the route table, did all that. If you're just testing, you can just use the default one they give. But if you do go live or production, I recommend just setting up your own. But if you want to check that out, I went over it briefly in a couple other videos I did. All right, so I'm in the console. I'm going to click on Workspaces. I'm going to click Get Started Now. I'm going to click Advanced Setup and click Launch. So there's really two pieces to this. Mainly it's the Workspaces side, but then there's also the directory side. And I think what most companies should do is the AD connector. You can do it on-premise Active Directory and set up a VPN tunnel. I recommend setting up an EC2 instance and setting up AD in that, and just kind of using the AD connector. It's really easy setup to connect them. Let's click next to see, yeah. And the sizing, you choose the sizing. Then there's also AWS managed AD. It's more expensive, but you don't have to deal with things like patching and whatnot. That's a good solution too if you want to take the legwork of managing your own server out. For my video, I'm going to do simple AD, which is just a Linux Samba AD. There is a lot of limitations though, like AWS SSO and a couple other things. It's good for just testing, or if you got a really small company, it'd be perfect. So I'm going to click next. Then I'm going to choose a size. I'm going to do small because one person. This is up to 500 people. It gives you the pricing there as well. I'm just going to make something up. Linux together. There we go. So whatever your DNS name, fully qualified domain name here is, they give you the corp.example.com. I'm just going to do nxt.com, and then NetBIOS, which is the shorthand. I'm just doing LNXT. So the admin password. I'm just gonna make a quick one real quick. Make sure you write this down. You're gonna need it again. Click next. No capitals. Needed more characters. Has to be a unique name. I think that was what the issue was. Okay. So here's the choose. So click next, and you're at the VPC and subnet section. I already made one, so I'm going to choose it when I was setting up my Rust servers. So choose, and then choose your subnets. You're going to choose two different availability zones. Kind of the Amazon high availability. So I'll click next. Choose your different AZs. Choose your VPC. Click next. You're going to review it. Create directory. I already created one, so I'm going to leave that alone. That's why I couldn't do it, because I just made the same thing over. But yeah, I already made one just because it takes about 10 minutes to create. So I'm going to click this. And next, so once it's done, you're going to click the checkbox, click Actions, click Register. So you're going to choose those subnets again. And you're basically choosing two different availability zones. And if you don't know what an AZ is, it's each region. There's Oregon, there's a bunch of regions you can click up here and see. But it's just within those regions, the different AZs, in different parts of the state. Just, in case there's a forest fire in this section, this AZ is still up, So let's see. I don't definitely don't want self-service permissions most likely. You could check out Amazon Work Docs. I'm not going to use it. So I'm going to click register. Okay. All right, so the directory is set up. I'm still in the Workspaces console. I'll go back for you so you guys can see. Workspaces. Click Workspaces. So, like Amazon usually works from top to bottom. So let's start with the directory. Here's the directory I created. Simple AD tells you the reg code. The reg code is the one you're probably going to need because this is how they're going to connect to it. Tells you the VPC, tells you the DNS address. There's also a security group. So let's click on it, click actions, and let's update details. So the first part is kind of the domain, the OU, organizational unit you can target. And this could be for users or workspaces, kind of where the workspaces land in the OU. I'm just going to leave it as default, whatever the default is. I don't know if I can change this with Simple AD. Haven't tested. Here's a security group you can play with. You got to make sure this access to the internet is enabled or you won't be able to do anything on them. And then there's also access control you can do here. You can set up some encryption stuff. It always defaults turning this off. I'm going to turn it on, web access and Linux, so they can access it from a web browser. And if someone's using a Linux desktop, they can access it. Then there's some local admin settings. Let's see what else. And then there's some self-service permissions. You know, remember them every time you log in. If you have a secure environment, you might want to disable this. Give them ability to restart. I recommend doing that. Rebooting at least once a week. There's a couple of cool things you can change in here. I'm going to update and exit. The only thing I changed was the web access. Okay, so next we go to Workspaces. And from here, so really what the process here is going to be, we're going to launch our first workspace. We're going to install whatever application you might be using. I'm just going to install Notepad++, you know, Firefox, Chrome, update it, maybe some Adobe Reader. And then from there, and that's going to be the image workspace. I'm going to back out, restart it, and then I'm going to make the image. And then I'll deploy it again. So let's see. So I'm going to click under Workspaces, I'll click Launch Workspaces. I'm going to choose my directory, the only one I made. And from here, you can actually create the users if you haven't already created them. Let's see. Corey. Let's do Corey, test. I'm just going to make something up, actually. Let's do .com. Okay. Create user. So show all users. There's all the default ones. Where's mine? There it is. Click that one. Add it down here. So now I added the user for this workspace. Click next. And this is where you kind of choose the operating system and the bundle. And bundled in Workspaces there's bundles, right? So let's look it up real quick. Or the sizing. Let's see. Let's go to Windows bundles. Okay, so here it is. So there's a couple of different ones. There's value, standard, performance, and power. And value is like really small, 1 virtual CPU, 2 gigs of memory. Standard is 2 CPU, 4 gigs of memory. I think, you know, today's low end, you know, the person should have at least 8 gigs of memory. You probably can push it to 16, but yeah, I feel like to function properly, you need at least 8. So this is where it starts for most clients. And then you can go up to power if you have more, if you're doing higher tasks that require a lot of processing power and RAM. And it goes all the way up here, and it shows you the pricing here. It gets, I think around Power Pro, it gets expensive. They have graphics, which are pretty expensive. You gotta have a pretty good use case for them. Otherwise, I would stick to probably performance or power. So let's go back. I am going to just do a cheapy one, just a standard one, a free one. 2 CPU, 4 gigs of memory. But I would, if you're actually considering this and doing a proof of concept, I would at least do the 8 so you kind of get a feel for how it's going to feel. So I'm not going to do Linux. I'm going to do standard. So I'm going to filter standard. So I'm going to do standard with Windows 10. I'm also going to stand up a Linux one too, I think. So standard Windows 10, and you can choose whatever one you want, like performance, you can choose it there. So, and then you can mess with your volumes. I'm gonna leave it the same, 80, 50. Next, I'm gonna do auto stop, just for purposes, but I recommend always on. Auto stop's good for users who I think use the workspace less than 40 hours a month, which is like a full-time week. If they're like barely on it, use auto stop. Otherwise, it's cheaper just to use always on. And then there is some encryption options. You can set up root, volume encryption, or user encryption. I'm not going to do it because it takes longer to create, and I want to get through this quick. But you can mess with that. There's some tags you can set up too. So here's my review. Just doing a standard. Let's click launch. All right, so I took about a 15-minute break. After you created the workspace, it takes about 20 minutes for it to create. I went ahead and made another Linux one, so you can just see their Linux desktop. But I'm assuming most people will be using Windows. So it does take 20 minutes. You can keep hitting the refresh up here just to see if the status changes. But in the meantime, while it's loading, go download the Amazon Workspaces. So if you want to search AWS Workspace download, should be the first one that pops up. Click it, and then you can kind of see all the different hardware you can connect to the workspace from: Linux, web access, Fire tablet, Chromebook, Windows, Mac, iPad, basically almost everything. So I'm going to use the Windows download. I already got it going. So download it, install it. Once you get it installed, I'm assuming these are still going to be going. Go to your directories, and then so click the directory, click the drop down, and then copy this reg code right here. You're going to need this, and end users are going to need this as well. And you can disperse this in a few different ways, but just copy it for now. Start up the Workspaces app. It's going to ask for a reg code right off the bat, and just copy that, paste that in. Click continue. And now you're connected. And you can also set up a two-factor authentication here. I'm not going to go over that, but you can do that in the directories console. I've set up Duo and a couple other ones, so it's pretty easy. So once this is done, I'm going to pause a minute and see if this workspace is ready. They do take about 20 minutes to get going. Let's see. Yeah, I'll be back in a minute. All right, so it took about 25 minutes. Normally, it could be a little less or more than 20 minutes. So kept hitting refresh, and now my Windows workspace is up. My Linux one's still going. We'll test that after. But let's try logging in now. So let's see. All right, so I got the reg code. So the workspace clients. My username. Put in my password. Click sign in. And if you're following along with me and you're using the simple AD, you're gonna have to go to search directory service. Normally you would do this on your domain controller, but choose directory service. I think there's a few ways of doing this, but just click on your directory, click reset password, put in the username, because I think it gives you a default one. So let's go back. But normally you would do that on your own Active Directory. All right, let's see. Okay. So put in your username, put in your password, sign in. And the first time starting out might take a minute. So let's see. Once you're in the workspace, if you hover to the top, you'll see the options. So you can choose full screen. Let's leave full screen. Let's make this fit the window. Stop going full screen, please. Oh. Okay, it's not gonna let me. Let's go here. Okay. Much easier full screen though. Okay. So I'm in the workspace. And this is just going to be the fresh image. This is what you're going to use to kind of install stuff on. It already comes with Firefox. Come with this work docs. We don't want that. First thing I'm going to do is run some updates. Check for updates. Let it do that thing. Let's just download some quick stuff real quick. Remember, this is the standard. So the first time starting it up, everything's going to be a little slow for the first 20 minutes, and then it'll pick up. But the speed will also be dependent on your sizing you choose also. So I'm going to download Chrome. Let's download Notepad++. Download. Next. Sure. Okay. So that's going. It's going to be a little bogged down, running a bunch of updates right now. So got everything going. And like I said before, if you use full screen, it's a lot easier. You don't see this top bar. There's a couple of things you can do from up here. You can disconnect and restart from here too. And then in the top right, you can kind of see, maybe this user is in the middle of nowhere and they got horrible ping. You can, if they're like, hey, it's like a little stuttery. The one thing about Workspaces is you need an internet connection to connect it. If you're on an airplane and you don't have if you're not using the Wi-Fi, you're not gonna be able to connect to it. So that's the one caveat, is you need internet. But nowadays, you should be able to have that from anywhere. You can even hotspot this. But if your user is having issues, you can have them click this little network tool. And there's also, before you log in, there's a connection thing I'll show you. I got Chrome. Chrome's up. Notepad++ is up. It's running updates. I might just skip that just for the video purposes, but usually you want to update everything before you deploy an image. So that's that. So I'm going to back out of this now. Close it. End current session. And I am going to find it and reboot it. And then let me show you real quick that connectivity, back to login page. So when you're logging in, you click this little network button, and it does a bunch of checks for you. UDP, TCP. It kind of tells you if you're having issues. It's a good troubleshooting tool. And then from the drop down, there's a bunch of stuff here that you can do. Yeah, so if the drop-down menu, you can reboot the workspace, you can stop it, you can rebuild it. Maybe someone's like, hey, I need more RAM, this thing's too slow. You can up it to 8 or 16 gigs of RAM. Modifying is, oh yeah, this is how you do it. You modify it, you change, if you want to increase the volume sizes. There's a couple other things you can do in here. I am going to choose just reboot. So before you do an image, make sure you reboot it. Let's see if there's any other options in here worth noting. Oh yeah, we're going to be clicking the create image button. As soon as this is done, it takes about 5 minutes to reboot. So give it a sec. All right, I rebooted the workspace. It took about 5 minutes. So now that it says available under status, I am going to click on the workspace and then click actions, and I'm going to choose create image. So there's going to be a lot of waiting in this period. That's why I'm going to pause the video a bunch. But so basically, it says it takes up to 45 minutes. This image is going to have Notepad++, Google Chrome on it, running updates. I skipped the updates, but you should run updates. And then whatever app you want whatever app you want on it to test and to use and to make this kind of a proof of concept. And then it just says you make sure you reboot it. Okay, let's click next. So I'm going to call this next image version 1. Version 1 image. You can write Notepad, Notepad, Chrome. Create image. Okay. So this takes 45 minutes, like I said, so I'll come back in a little bit. But just to go over what's next is, so an image is validating. It'll pop up here. And then from here, we're going to create a bundle once this image is done. And that's the bundle piece really is when you deploy this image, what hardware and what hard disk size is going to be auto attached to it as well. Maybe you got a marketing team who requires performance workspaces and they need a higher local storage for files. So you'd create like a marketing bundle. And then maybe you need an accounting bundle where they need different hardware requirements, or probably a completely different image, I'm assuming. And you would do that through here. So I'll be back in a minute once this image is done. It should take about 45 minutes. All right, guys, so the image finally finished. It said available, and then the workspace also shut it down, so it says stopped. So now the image is done. So the next piece is you want to create a bundle. So go to images, find your image you made, create bundle. I'm just going to put test, and you can choose whatever you want. I'm just going to choose value, and then you can choose your volume sizes. If you click the eye, it'll tell you the different sizes. Create bundle. And I already did make one. Let me delete that. Delete bundle. Okay. So the one I just made is right here. So basically, now when I deploy an image, it's going to use that image I used with, Chrome and Notepad++ or whatever application you want. You're going to specify the hardware you need, the storage size you need, auto stop, always on, and then you're going to click that image. So this area could have a bunch of different bundles and images here. You're going to click the launch workspace, and it's going to go through the same process that we went through before. Click your directory, find the user, and then the only thing different is this bundle page. Instead of clicking the standard, you're going to go to the bottom. It's already going to be clicked. It's going to be that bundle you made, and it's going to have Chrome and Notepad++ on it. It's going to have whatever application you want. It's going to be the hardware you chose and the storage, and you're going to go through the same exact process as before. I'm not going to go through it, but that's pretty much how it's set up, and you could manage all your bundles and images through an image like this one and just constantly update it. But yeah, give it a shot, test it out, use the workspace, test the functionality. I use Workspaces a lot. I used to use Citrix, and it's a great environment. You don't need a VPN. So yeah, so I hope you liked the video, and you got to see how easy it was to set up a workspace. If you have any questions or anything, just leave a comment, and I'll try to help you guys out. See you guys.